Right, morning everybody. Today we're talking about value and pricing. I know we've done this before, but I just wanted to go into a little bit more depth for you to try and understand what's in my head. Okay, so I've had a couple of queries about the pricing and how we price properties. And I think what's the overarching principle is that you need to get away from this notion that you are an area expert. I don't like that wording. It just doesn't make sense to me, because what's the reality? The reality is you're never going to know more about an area than the guy who's lived there for 30 years. You're just not, unless you live there yourself. So be very careful of saying you're the area expert. I think it's a far better proposition to say you're a professional agent and you're knowledgeable. And that's how you sell yourself. That's how people will understand what you're saying. If you say I'm knowledgeable and I'm professional, and then you demonstrate that. Okay. When you say you're an expert, you know, you put yourself up on a pedestal, and the very first word you say, it's wrong. It undermines everything, because you're an expert. Experts can't get it wrong. So if you go to the doctor and he says to you, well, you're looking sick, but I think you're a horse, you know, you're going to say, okay, thanks, I'll go find another doctor. It's too late for him. He can never recover that. But if you say, okay, I'm just a professional agent, so I was on time, I called you like I said I would, I showed up, I looked the part, I'm dressed properly, I've got all the documents, I'm ready for action, and I'm knowledgeable. I know about your area. I think you're in a much better place. Right, so how do we do this? Okay, so the first thing is that when somebody calls you, okay, Anton, I'd like you to value my house. You need to be a little bit careful now, because people know what the values are, because most of the data is available to them. And they also know what the value is because they've seen what's sold around them. And if they're in the neighborhood for a long time, they will know kind of what the prices are. So you should be careful of saying anything, actually. So the first thing I do when people ask me for a valuation, I say, well, how much do you want? And they'll, no, you're the expert. You tell me what it's worth. And I say, well, that's fine. And I keep asking them. And I'll look around the house and I'll say, but how much do you think it's worth? And I keep quiet. And they won't, no, you'll tell me. And then I'll say, well, you know, have you been offered, have you done a valuation before? What did they say? And most times the people can't help themselves. They want to tell you what they think, and they normally give you an indication of value, and then you remember that. So if they say 2 million rand, boy, you better remember that number. Don't comment on that number, just know the number. And then when you go back and do the proper evaluation of the price for them, you need to know whether or not it's in the ballpark figure. Because if it's the 2 million rand and you come in at 1 million rand, you're not going to get the deal. You know, you're not going to get the listing. If they had 2 million rand and you think it's worth 3 million rand, you need to be careful, because you don't know something, or you may be underpricing it. Okay, so that's just something to bear in mind. So how do we work with data? Now, there is so much data out there, you know, because we also know that the value of the property is based on a number of factors. Who values it? We don't know. You know, I would say that the buyer is the ultimate decider of the value, because that's what he's prepared to pay. But there's one step above him, is actually the bank who finances it. So if he agrees to pay 3 million rand for a 2 million rand house and the bank says no, that's not the right value. So we know that's true. There's a municipal value, there's a comparative value, there's the agent's value, there's the ex-vast value, there's the insurance value, there's a rebuild value, there's a lot of different values that we understand. So what is the true value? Well, you've got to look at the data available and try and distill it down to one sensible value. Now, when you're looking at data, any data, it's better to look at it rather than from a pyramid down, where you say, let's look at this house and then try and find the value. I think it's the wrong way around. What you need to do is look at the broad, overarching data and then distill it down to the property. So when you do a CMA, when you do a valuation on the house, where you start is not the CMA. That's the wrong place to start. So if I'm doing a valuation in Fairland now, and I say, okay, I'm going to value this house, what's the first thing I do? So what's happening in the world? Like, seriously. Okay, well, the Ukraine's on fire. You know, Europe's quite rattled at the moment. Suddenly, South Africa is looking like quite a peachy prospect, because there's no threat of nuclear war here. So the property market here might be a bit more buoyant. People might not be fleeing overseas anymore. That's certainly an important thing to remember. So what else do we know? Now we start distilling data down. Now we need to know about Fairland. What's happening with Fairland? What's happening in South Africa? What's happening in Fairland? What's happening in the street? What's happening with that area? And how do we find that data? So well, let me show you a trick. This is certainly the most, one of the best sources of data that's available to us. And you'll know it. And I'm just going to share my screen. Right. Now you should be looking at this. And this is the property 24 landing page. Now, property 24 has got so much data on it, it'll make you scream. So you need to be careful. So what I'm saying to you is to go to property 24 and you go to Fairland. And if you search, all the properties in Fairland come up. But that's not the right place to start also, because you want to draw bigger. Remember, you want to start at a macro level. So let's have a look. If you look at the right-hand side here, more trends and statistics. This is your friend. This here turns you from the local Cullies, pet emporium and occasional house sales into a property professional who is showing some certain amount of knowledge. Okay. And you click on this and it takes you to this page here. Now you see you can pay for it if you want. And I think if you pay for it, you just get a PDF, but I don't need to pay for it and you don't need to pay for it. The first thing you do is look at the map of Fairland here and you say, okay, well, that's nice. I see where it is in Johannesburg. I understand, you know, it's not in the middle of Braamfontein. It's not past Mulder's Drift. It's sort of in a fairly good area. There's a hospital there. Okay, that looks good. Northcliffe's right here. Okay, so that's like a nice area. So this, remember, I'm assuming I know nothing about the area and I've been asked to do a valuation. Suddenly, I know quite a lot about the area. I know exactly where it is. I can see it's on the Western Bypass. So if you're talking to people, say, well, it's right on the highway, man. You can just zip onto that highway and you can be anywhere in Johannesburg rather quickly. Okay. It's also quite close to Sandton, I would say. There's Bryanston, there's Sandton. You know, so it's, and the city centers right there. So we can learn a lot about the area just by looking here. Okay, now you're making notes, because you're going to have to talk to the owner. And you better know some of these things when you talk to the owner. Why? Because you're knowledgeable, remember? Right, so then you go down to this first thing here, annual sales and listing trends. Now, this is a very important graph. What does this tell us? Well, what I do is I start off in the current year. There it is here, year 2022. And you'll see that there's only 47 sales so far. Previous year, there were 310. So the first thing about data is that you need to compare like for like. You cannot say, well, the price is dropping this year because there's not enough data this year. Last year, there were 310 sales. This year, we've only done 47. Okay. So the first thing I know about Fairland, if I look at 310 sales, is that's quite a lot of sales in a year. So I take my calculator and I go 310 divided by 12, and I find out that's 25.5, 26 sales per month. That's quite a lot of sales for a small area, 26 a month. Okay, so that's good. That means there's demand. That means people are selling and people are buying. There's action in the neighborhood. That's a good sign. That means we can get the thing sold. Then we look at, okay, we know that sales, we know that it's real. What about last year? The last year's sales seem to be lower. The previous year, lower. Previous year, lower. Previous year, lower. Oh, so in Fairland, there's a general uptick in the number of properties sold. So what does this mean? Is it good or bad? Well, we don't actually know, because it could be two things. If more people are selling, it could be because the neighbor is going on fire and they all want to get out, or that there's just more demand and the prices are climbing. So you don't quite know what it is, but the fact is that there are sales and there's a general increase in the number of sales. And this is good knowledge. This is good information to have. Right, then if you look at these two little graphs here, there's the red one, which is the average asking price. And the blue one is the average sale price. Now, this is gold, because now your seller is going to say to you, I've got a house in Fairland and I want 2.5 million for it. And you're going to say to him, like you always should say, is where did you get your price from? And he's going to say, well, I can just look around and I can see what's for sale. And that's a good tip, because we know, okay, well, what's for sale and what's sold is not the same thing. And you say to him, come and sit here next to me and let me show you something on this computer. And there you show it. You see this red graph. So in 2021, the asking price was 1.825. But what did we actually achieve? The blue one is the sales price, 1.4. 400,000 Rand less than asking price is what was actually achieved. Okay, so that's a very important piece of data to know, Mr. Seller. You can't make up your price because you'll never get it. And the way the interweb works is that it's price band specific. So what do we mean by that? Well, if we go to, let's just open up property 24, and you say to him, and you show him this, You say to him, okay, let's pretend you're a buyer. Look here, you want to go to Fairland, yes. And you want to buy a house, yes. And then you got a price bracket. Now we know that the average price is 1.8, 1.75. Why would you put in anything? Minimum price 1.5 because you don't want to buy rubbish. And the maximum price will be 2 million rand. But the problem that you've got here is, look here, that cutoff point is in increments of 500. It goes from 2 million to 2.5. If you put in 2.5 here, or if you put in 2.550, you're actually in the 3 million rand bracket. That means anybody under the 2 million rand mark won't see your property. Do you understand? That's very important. You will, because the way the listing segments, they will only be sent a notification of what's for sale for what they asked for. And if you tell them, if you're putting it above that, they're not going to ask for it. And why would they ask for it? If they're buying in Fairland, why would they be asking for a 3 million rand property? They wouldn't. So don't price it at 2550 or 2550 or 26. Price at 26 means it's 3 million rand. You understand? Okay, so you've got to bear that in mind. So we come back here now. Okay, so what do we know, Mr. Seller? We know that in the old days, last year, that the asking price was 400,000 rand 400,000 rand more than the achievable selling price. So the actual selling price. We know that as a fact. 400,000, that's a lot of money. We know why that can't work, because if you want your property to sit on the market for a very long time, you do it like that, and then you understand, because we've spoken exactly about how the pricing parameters work on the interwebs. And you show me, look, what is interesting is been a correction. Look at this. And this asking price has dropped. Do you see? The asking price has gone from 1.8 down to 1.6. That's very interesting. And the actual achievable price has gone from 1.4 to 1.7. So there's an inflection there. And what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that the people who are trying to sell have suddenly realized, perhaps, that putting their house on the market at the wrong price, asking this 400,000 and too much, is not a good strategy, because you wait too long to sell. And those two things have come together nicely. And when those two things are close together, that's when you're at the optimum price, where the actual price on the market and the actual selling price are close. That's what you want, alignment. You don't want a big gap. No, I'm waiting for some fool. Well, if he says that, you say, well, I think we found the biggest fool, and it's you, because you can't just make up numbers and expect them to work, because the modern world doesn't work like that. No, you don't say that to him, okay? But it's true. So that's an important thing. What also is good for this seller who's sitting next to you now, and you say, let's look here, here's another thing. You're saying you want to put your house on the market for 2.5. Look here, properties for sale in Fairland. Let's open it. Let's have a look. What is for sale in Fairland? It's very important. And we look here, 1.8. Oh, 4.2. Well, that's a monstrous house. 3.2. All of them overpriced. And what you're trying to show him here is you know to try and find a house that's close to him or that's in the right bracket. And here's one here for 1.850. A beautiful 3-bedroom in Smith Street. And we're in Smith Street. Now, you want to go in at 2.5. Why would you go in at 2.5 if the house next door to you or down the road is at 1.8? And he's going to say, oh, my house is better. And that might be so. But is it really 600,000 rand better? Really? That's a lot of money better. Okay, so that's the one thing you show. Then you come back here and say, now remember those numbers that we just showed you for what's for sale. Look at this one here. This one is sold prices. So this is going to tell you what's actually sold in the area. And that's important, man. And let's have a look here. What street are we in? Let's say we're in Johannes Street. We click on Johannes Street. This is what's sold in Johannes Street. This is the fact, not the wish list. Remember that this is a wish list. This is people dreaming, hoping, praying for money. This is what they actually achieved. And what do you want to do when you look down that list? 1.8, 1.5, 1.2, 1.2, 1.5, 1.3. Where do you see 2 million rand? You definitely don't see 2.5. You don't even see 2 million rand. I'm suggesting that we're going at 1.8 so that you peg yourself at the right place in the market. Okay. Do you understand why this data is so powerful? Because it's no longer a emotional thing. It's not, I've been here for 30 years and I spent 300,000 rand on the kitchen and my house is the best in the street. Well, it's absolutely irrelevant what you think, because the buyers have to buy it and that you are competing with the open market, and the open market is dictating the price. Not me, not you. But what we can do is price it incorrectly and you'll wait a long time. So that's the first graph that's of importance. If we come down to this one, monthly properties for sale. Now, this is also very important because there's some areas in South Africa, and if you just type in your favorite area that you're working, remember, I've just picked one because I know nothing about Fairland. Now I'm starting to know stuff about Fairland. Monthly properties for sale. Let's look at it. Let's have a look. If you go back to sort of February last year, 21, we'll see the blue. The blue is the number on total on the market, and the red is new to the market. These are new listings. So we saw that there were 250 or 260 on the market, and about 56 of them were new in that month. But look at this graph, it's come down. So the number of properties on the market is coming down. And the red list, the new entrance to the market, is going up. Okay, so that tells you something. I'm not sure exactly what it tells you. If I looked at this, I would say to the buyer, look, a year ago, you know, we had 250 properties on the market. Now we've only got 170. The number of properties on the market are coming down. That could mean that the demand is less. And if we look at the graph above, we'll see that the prices are coming down. So when the prices come down, the sellers don't want to sell. Well, a year ago, the prices were going up. Everybody wanted to sell. But did they sell? No, they didn't, because they sold for 400,000 less than they were asking. And then people say, well, I don't want to get 400,000 less than I'm asking. And they take the prices off the market, or they don't list them. So that graph tells you what's on the market and how many are coming on monthly. And you said, Mr. Smith, you're going to put your house on the market for 2.5. I'm telling you it's 1.8. The data is telling you 1.8. And understand one more thing. This month, there were 40 houses, 39 houses came onto the market at the right price. You are number 41 and you are at the wrong price. Why would somebody buy your property? Are you in a rush to sell, or do you just want to sit on it and wait and wait and wait? Okay, that's the kind of stuff that's going on in your head. This is what we do now. We're understanding this. We are becoming a knowledgeable professional of that area. So when I sit down with this seller, I can still take the property to the market at 2.5 because he insists. I'm not opposed to that, but he will know, and I know that that's not the right price by my estimation, and he has the data to back it up. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to act like we are professionals and knowledgeable. We're not an expert. Experts are the bad thing. Experts are lucky. So what else do I know about Fairland? Well, let's say I know nothing about Fairland, like I've said. So let's have a look here. Total properties by bedroom count. That's fantastic. So I look down this and I see, hang on, if I knew nothing about Fairland, what do I know now? I know that most of the properties sold are between 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms. There we go. Mostly 3 bedrooms. So what do I know about Fairland? It's a normal 3-bedroom house in a nice neighborhood, because I can see it. Okay, and there are a couple of 5 bedrooms, but not many, and there are a couple of 1 bedrooms, there aren't so many, and there are a couple of no bedrooms. So I don't know what no bedrooms are, but that's a that's a bit weird. Okay, so but we know that it's a 3-bedroom is a standard. So if he's got a 4-bedroom house, you can maybe adjust it upwards. If he's got a 5-bedroom house, there are less of them in the area. Why would people want to buy a 5-bedroom house in Fairland? It looks like to me it's a normal suburban middle-class neighborhood with 3 bedrooms, and that's what people want. If you've got a 5-bedroom or 6-bedroom house there, that's an anomaly. Well, you better have a good reason for buying it. And so just putting the price up is not going to help you. Okay. The average price, this one here by bedroom count. This is superb data, this. I mean, this is gold. Guys, if you look here, this is a 3-bedroom house. Well, the average listing price is 1.7 for a 3-bedroom. Mr. Smith, let's look at the data here. The 1.7 is the average listing price for a 3-bedroom. 4 bedrooms go for 3.5. Now that's an anomaly because there are few of them. And if you look at the 4 bedrooms over here, you'll see that there are less of them on the market. So there's something about them. And now we've got to be careful. They may be guest houses. There may be something special about them. 5 bedrooms go for 3.7. Now, if he has got a 5-bedroom, you've got to find out how many of those have actually sold, because we don't know that. It doesn't look like to me there's going to be a lot. Remember, this is what's on the market, not what's actually sold. Okay. Right, sectional title. This is a lovely information as well. You can see how many sectional title sales there were last year. There were 200, 199, and the price for sectional title is 1 million rand on average. And look at that, there's a big inflection coming down. So the price for sectional title is coming down quite dramatically. But what did we learn about data? There is not enough data to make that assumption because there's only 31 sales and last year there were 200 sales. So it's a bit early, but it does make a suggestion though that possibly the prices of sectional title can be coming down. And this is one year sold urban. This is quite interesting. There have been, look at that, 111 empty plots sold. Now, if you've driven around Fairland, where are these empty plots? I don't see them. But there are empty plots and they do get sold. Maybe that suggests that in that area people are subdividing. It could mean that. And then then you can get, it might be a bigger price for your house because maybe you can sell the empty plot for 800,000 Rand and get some of your money back. Okay. So this is good data. What else do we know about Fairland? Well, I know nothing yet, remember? And now I'm looking at the age profile. So who's on the market as a seller, who's on the market as a buyer, and who are the current owners? And if you look at the demographic here, it's very interesting for me because you can see that the sellers are mostly sort of older than 50, but sort of it's a halfway split between 50 and over 65. So there's an older crowd there selling, but also the 36 to 49. So it is still an older crowd. It's not a very young neighborhood. It looks like a slightly older people selling there. So who are the buyers then? Well, the buyers aren't youngsters. The buyers are mostly over 35 years old. That's important because now you can understand who your client is. If you're a family and you're a 3-bedroom house and you're over 35-year-old, okay, then you're married, you've probably got children, they're probably in junior school or maybe, early high school, and therefore schools are important for the buyers here. Medical is important, safety is important. This is what we need to deal with. So the average, the biggest batch of buyers in this area is 36 to 49. It's exactly that thing. So if the guy's house is close to a school, maybe you can up price it a bit. Why? Because that's the people that are coming into this market, the buyers, are this family with their children at that school-going age, because it says so. Okay. And the current owners are mostly over 35 years old, they're older people. Now, if this was in Melville, for example, you might find that the buyers in Melville are younger, and I think they are. So that blue of the 18 to 35s might be the bigger portion. So the young urban professionals, single professionals even, and these guys are able to buy there for a reason, and they might want to buy there to renovate and turn it into a nice yuppie kind of glitzy place. Whereas a person who's got 2 children and wants to live in Fairland, who's over at 50 years old, he's probably not that interested in renovating. He's got expenses, man. He's got children, medical aid, sport. He's got school fees. He's got varsity coming. He doesn't want to spend $500,000 Rand on renovating a house. So if it's a really old, broken down house, the guy said, yeah, but if you just throw some money at it, then it can be renovated. Well, Mr. Smith, let's look who the buyers are. The buyers are older people with children. They don't have 500 million Rand lying around to renovate houses. And it's not the kind of area where you want a glitzy, fancy house. You're buying in this area for the security, for the access to schools, for the comfort, for the price level. All of that becomes important. Where maybe in a Melville area, it's more of a yuppie aspirant market where the guys are trying to really do these beautiful, fun, architecturally designed properties. Okay. So what do we know about this area now? We know a lot. So let's have a look now. What's next? Now we go to, I just want to stop sharing and start again. Okay, now we're in a position for the first time to actually look at the value of that property. Do you understand? Because now I understand the area. I know who the buyers are. I know who the sellers are. I know how many houses are on the market, how many are coming onto the market. I know what the average sale is. I know what the average asking price is compared to the average sale. I know that it's getting closer or getting further or it's crossed. So the prices are coming down, the prices are going up. I know all of this stuff. I am now becoming a true professional and I really looks like I'm very knowledgeable about Fairland. I don't even know where Fairland is, but I can tell you now, if I have a conversation with anybody in Fairland, they will think I know about the area because I do know about it. I know quite a bit about it. Okay, all about the data. So let's have a look here. We've gone to Lightstone, and I'm just going to pick one. This is, yeah. So let's assume that this is still Fairland, you know, don't stress too much about it. This is all open source data. It's all public data. This. So what I want you to look at is the very first thing here is this, the size. So the registered land size is 1,129 or 1,130 square meters. And the last price sold is 2.295 million. So 2.3 million when they paid for it. And they did that in 2018. So you know the size, you know what they paid, you know when they bought it. Okay. There's the house. It looks completely adequate to me. It looks like a normal house in the area. It's got a pool, it's got garages. It looks like a 3-bedroom house. No stress. And then you come to this map here. Remember, now you're trying to find a comparative price. Now, the first place you go to at the bottom here is you don't go to the comparative sales price average, because that's going to mislead you. Why? Because that is a consolidation of these number 1 to 17. It's simply an average of these ones that are represented here on this map. Okay. And that might not be true. It might not, because if you look at this map, there's a great big highway running through this map. And those houses there, 12, 10, 15, 17, are probably in another area. It's not the same area. Remember, being across the road makes a difference. 2 doors down makes a difference. If you're across a major highway, you're in another planet. Okay, so you're going to be careful. So the very first price I look at is this one here, the municipal valuation. The municipal valuations are pretty good. And the only thing I check is it the year of valuation 2018? That's close enough for me, 2018, as long as it's not 1947. So the municipal valuations is 2,035,000 Rand. And the average sale price, so we're trying to find the average, what is the comparative price of this property? So remember, the size of the property was 1130. So we come to this map here and we start looking. Okay, there's my property here, the X. So these ones are rounded. Those 1, 2, 5, 6, 3, 9, 13, 4, and 11. Those are within a kilometer of it. Those are very close. So those ones I like. So I look at those prices and I see, is there an anomaly in those prices? And I come down here to number 6. This one here, number 6, is for 3 million Rand. Now we know this house isn't worth 3 million Rand. So obviously that one's been renovated. So look here, see this button here, delete. I click on that and I keep going and I look again. This one here in Velties, number 7. Number 7 for me is too far away. It's not in the exact area. And that one at 2.6, I'm going to click on that one. I don't want that one. Okay, so then you look at this comparative sales price again at 2.16 million. Look what happens when I delete those two. So 2.16 million, delete 2,084,000. It drops it by 100,000 Rand. And that's correct, because those houses are not representative. Remember, this is a comparative analysis. You've got to compare house for house. So you go through this list again and you look again for anomalies. Here's another one for 2.5 million Rand. Now, if in your heart, you know this house is worth about 1.6 and you've looked at this, you know the area, you've done some homework, and you can see that 2.5 million Rand is not right. Obviously, this house has been majorly renovated, or there's something different to it. It's an outlier. And if it's an outlier, you can exclude it. So I exclude that one and I delete, and look at my price goes from 2,082 down to 2,047. And we're getting it down, we're getting it down. Why? Because we want to show the seller what the true comparison is in his neighborhood. Now, remember, if your buyer asked you for this, you wouldn't take them out. Why? Because there's nothing stopping him upgrading that house to get those values. Do you understand? So you leave it in for the buyer to show you what's the potential. But for the seller, you want to show him the true comparative truth. Okay. So, and here 2,047. And if you don't know, here's another one at 2.4. This one here, number 4 at 2.4, you drive past that house, you look at that house and you realize, hang on a second, this house has got a granny flat. My house hasn't got a granny flat. I take it out. Because why? You've got to compare like for like. No granny flat. Now you're at 2,020,000. So the best, if you want to value this property now the comparative sales price is 2,020,000. And the municipal valuation is 2,035,000. Do you understand that we've got it relatively close? We've got two sources of data, the municipal data plus my comparative data, and we can see here that these two properties, these two prices now are quite close together. Now, if the owner was talking about 1.85 to 2 or 2.5, we can convince him that 2.5 is not the number, but maybe 2.1 is the number, expecting 2, because that's what the average is. That's what's sold. We can see what's sold here. 1.7, 2 million rand, 2 million rand, 2.2 million rand, 1.8 million rand. Okay. So that's a very good way of trying to understand the area, become knowledgeable, and then show your client. And you need to sit with the client and show him this on your computer. You need to say, sit with me. I will show you why your pricing is incorrect. According to the data, not my opinion. I have no opinion on this house. Remember, what do I do for a living? I market properties. I don't sell properties. I'll market them. I can't sell it because it's not mine. What I will do is I will take this property and I will market it to the buyers out there in the most effective way, looking to get you the best price in the fastest time and the best possible deal. That's what I'm trying to do. But you and I are a team, and because we're a team, we have to be aligned. So you can't want 2 million and 2.5 million. I can't think then it's worth 1.5, and then suddenly we like trying to find this, you know, because then there won't be we're not a team then. You've got to be aligned. You've got to be aligned in your output. So either you say to the guy, listen, I think it's worth 2 million rand. That's my number. Here's the valuation I've done. Let's go for a 2. And he says, no, I wanted a 2.5. You say, that's fine. Okay, I'll tell you what we do. We'll put it on the market for a week, and we will see exactly what the market comes back with. And then we'll know for sure who's more correct. So let me have a look. I've shared my screen again. And what I want to show you is property 24 again, because here's some more magic from these oaks. Property 24 has got the most amazing data in the world. So let's have a look here. So you go to this Fairland property, you go over here to your agent zone, and you look at a listing. Let's take a listing that house for. So I'm just trying to find one. Yeah, Jan Smuts. I don't know whose property this is. I'm just trying to find one here. Okay, so what do you do now? Now it's been a week. He's decided he wanted to go in at 2.2, whatever the number is. You said to him, I'll give it a week. And with the way the internet works is we'll get a very quick response. So let's go. Go to reporting. You go to your listing statistics, okay, and you put in your listing. There it is there, and you click on it, and you change the parameters. So let's say the last 6 months, and you say to him, okay, Mr. Smith, we've had your property on the market for the last 6 months, or 3 months, or 1 week, depending on what, because this thing's you can change it, okay, and you can say to him, look here, we've had 95 views. That means 95 people have had a good look at your property because I've got such good photographs, I've got such a lovely description. How many people have phoned me? Look at the number of leads. 0. What does that mean? And you stop talking. What does that mean? And let him think about it. 95 people have looked at it, but not one person has contacted you. Is it because they don't like your face, Anton? Maybe. Is it because they didn't have your phone number? Maybe. And then you give him the gospel truth. Do you think possibly it's because it's overpriced? So they came to it, they looked at it, and immediately saw it's too expensive and moved on. Much more likely than me having an ugly face, don't you think? And this tool here is the most powerful tool. You should be sending this out to your sellers weekly, saying, good news, we've had 300 views of your property. Bad news is we haven't had any people call me, or we've had few people call me. So let's have a look at this now. Let's pick another one. I just want to show you a couple. Here's one in Norton. Let's have a look at this one. This is quite an interesting one. Let's go to the tracking statistics. Listing statistics for this one. Put it in there. Just go to it. Bam, there it is there. So, okay, Mr. Seller. In the last week, we've had 50 views. And how many leads have we had? 4 views, 2 SMSs. That's good. That's good. Look at this. 4 views, 1 view, viewed, viewed. But what I like to show them is the SMSs, contacts, and people have asked for contact there. They've asked for a contact there. This tells me that this property has shown interest because the 36 people have viewed it. About 6 of them have made an effort to contact me, and 4 of them have actually sent an SMS to the agent, and the agent has then responded on it. That means this is a well-priced property. And this is powerful, man. Because now the seller is going to say, yeah, but I still think. And then you're going to slap him and say, it doesn't matter what you think. The data says it all. We know the area. We know who's buying. We know what is for sale. We know what it sells for. We've done a CMA of what's around you that has actually sold. We've looked at the municipal valuation, and now we found a price. I picked a price, you picked a price, and we put it on the interwebs, and the market came back and said, yes, we like your price and we want to see it, or no, we don't like your price, we like the property. And that's a sure sign, change your price. And you say to him, it's been a week, let's drop your price. And let's drop it big, let's drop it to the correct price. And between 2.5 and 2 million rand, I suggest we're going at 2. You don't drop it to 2,450, you don't come down in increments. That doesn't work. The parameters, remember, don't work like that. You want to sell this property, you're going at 19950. Why? To get it under the 2 million rand mark. Then everybody who's looking for a 2 million rand property will get it. It's a well-priced property in a good neighborhood at 3 bedrooms that's going to sell. Okay. So that's what I know about Fairland. So if you're in Fairland and you're sitting, phone me, I know stuff. But anyway, good luck, guys. Go and sell some houses.